In the late 90s, Billy Beane created a strategy called MoneyBall that was so genius they made a book and movie about it. Unfortunately, this movie is part of the reason why in 2024, the Oakland Athletics might not even be a team anymore. In 2022, they sold less tickets than their AAA team 3 days in a row. In August, so few people went to the stadium, a couple was seen having in the middle of a game. They've had to postpone games because the lights stopped working. Their dugout and clubhouse have been flooded multiple times because of sewage issues, and according to some of their minor leaguers, this is what they got served for post-game meals. When MoneyBall became a best-selling book, Billy Beane was crowned a savant, and the A's were one of the best-ran franchises in sports history. But over the past year, they've been hit with disaster after disaster. According to some, this is just part of the MoneyBall strategy that will eventually pay off. According to others, the MoneyBall strategy is just a way for ownership to pretend they're poor so they can keep all the money for themselves. In 2023, the Athletics are projected to be one of the worst teams in baseball. And believe it or not, the release of the movie MoneyBall has a lot to do with it. It also might be the reason why the stadium is literally infested with stray cats and possums. But before we get to that, a quick word from today's sponsor. Good news, guys, if you have a phone, you have the ability to play Raid Shadow Legends, and if you're not downloading it right now, you're missing out, because Raid is a free game where you can take on real players in PvP, take on bosses, create your own strategies, all while playing with over 650 completely unique champions, as well as a brand new faction called the Sylvan Watchers with forest elves, tree spirits, and freaking living rock monsters. My personal favorite, Dude in the Runic, who will mess up anybody. The guy is massive. And right now is the best time to start playing because they organize something special for all new players this Christmas. All you gotta do is download, go to 12daysofraid.polarium.com and enter your player ID. Then you're on a 12-day adventure with new daily chapters, a new minigame, chances to win some amazing holiday-themed champions, and even Amazon gift cards worth up to $1,000. If you already play Raid, you also get a gift. Just go to 12daysofraid.polarium.com and you can get a special holiday promo code. Raid is also rolling out a brand new legendary champion based off combat sports legend Ronda Rousey, which you can get for free just by logging in and playing for 7 days between now and February 20th. If you haven't started playing Raid yet, click the link in the description or scan my QR code right here on the screen. You'll get unique bonuses worth $35. I'm talking a free epic champion, Jotun, 100,000 silver, 50 gems, 2 epic skill tomes, and all you gotta do to get started is click the link below. Do it right now. According to their own owner, the Athletic Stadium is, quote, a bunch of crap. If you search TripAdvisor and Yelp, you will find 21 different reviews that use the word jail or prison when describing the stadium. It is 55 years old, and the A's have been trying to get a new one for over a decade. It is one of only 2 stadiums in Major League Baseball that still has a bullpen on the field of play. This is obviously a massive safety hazard for outfielders and bullpen pitchers. They are also the only team in baseball without fences protecting the dugout, allowing foul balls to come flying in at over 100 miles per hour, nailing players like Eloy Jimenez, who took one in the knee in 2021. Since 2011, there have been at least 3 games postponed because the stadium lights randomly stopped working. In 2015, there was a 10-minute delay because Shane Victorino lightly bumped into the padding, causing a wall to break. In 2014, the A's grounds crew forgot to put the tarp on the field. That night, it rained. The next day, the field was in such bad condition, the game was rained out, even though it was 61 degrees and partly cloudy. A more disgusting problem is the sewage at the stadium. In 2013, the A's, Mariners, and the umpires all had to share a single locker room because an influx of fans caused the stadium's pipes to backup, causing both clubhouses to smell and flood. A few months later, the A's coaching room flooded with sewage, and in 2016, the entire visiting dugout flooded due to a backed up toilet. As seen from these pictures, the stadium also seems to be infested with possums. There have been 3 documented instances where a possum ran onto the field during a game, but they're most likely to be found in the press box, where the Yankees broadcast pointed out live on the air that there was a cage set up in the booth to catch the possums. But the biggest population of animals at the stadium are the feral cats. This has been a problem since the 90s, when one ran onto the field. After several minutes of running around the infield, ran into the outfield, back onto the infield until manager Tony La Russa diverged the cat back into the dugout. After the game, La Russa adopted the cat and named it Evie. In 2020, a report estimated that there were about 100 feral cats living on the stadium's property, but the Athletics said they don't see it as a problem because the cats help kill the rats, which have been a much bigger issue. According to this writer, he found a dead one in the press box, and according to a fan, he overheard a stadium worker say they found 2 dead rats inside one of the soda machines. The Oakland Coliseum has an atmosphere unlike anywhere else in sports that you truly have to see for yourself. It is extremely unique and fun in many ways, but when it comes to drawing in fans and revenue, it's terrible. And this was one of Billy Beane's biggest issues, which has even caused fights between him and his own players. A's ownership is known for not spending money on team facilities, players' contracts, or basically anything. The highest free agent deal the A's ever signed was Billy Butler, meaning the biggest free agent signing in A's history made less money than a backup outfielder for the Yankees. And this is what made the Athletics' success in the early 2000s so impressive. Using the MoneyBall strategy, Billy Beane and the A's front office were able to avoid spending on big contracts by trading their best players for young, undervalued players, hoping they would become good in the future. Once they became stars, they would also be traded. This is a risky strategy Billy Beane has pulled off to perfection multiple times, but according to some players, this is just a way ownership can spend the least amount of money possible, making sure they can profit no matter how bad the team is. That's basically what Josh Donaldson accused them of doing when he, quote, went to war with the Athletics and more specifically Billy Beane. According to the report, Donaldson and Billy Beane got into a verbal argument on whether or not Donaldson needed a day to rest. This argument eventually sparked Donaldson to start repeatedly referring to Billy Beane as, quote, Billy Boy, directly to his face. A few months later, Donaldson went to Twitter saying that the A's have plenty of money, they just tell everybody they don't. Despite being the A's best players, one of the best players in the league, and being under team control for 4 more years, Donaldson was traded a month after this tweet. This surprised many, but according to the source who broke the story, he wasn't surprised because, quote, nobody talks to Billy that way. However, this trade likely had nothing to do with this quote-unquote beef. Billy Beane and Donaldson seem to be on great terms, and the A's have been making trades like this to save money for decades, all the way back to the 70s when they were owned by Charlie Finley, who did anything to save money and sell tickets. He once ran a promotion called Hot Pants Day. This promotion allowed women to get into the game for free as long as they were wearing shorts. Men who entered the stadium were given free cameras so they could take pictures of the woman wearing shorts. This promotion was also a contest. Women in hot pants were invited onto the field so a panel of judges could decide who had the best hot pants. Unexpectedly, an estimated 2,000 women went on the field to enter this contest. This got so out of hand, the A's literally had to hose them off the field so they could start the game. This is just one of many insane stunts Charlie Finley pulled off to make money. In hopes to attract more fans to the stadium, he paid players an extra $300 if they grew a mustache. He created a zoo in the outfield and hired a shepherd to tend to live sheep during games. He hired a mule to be the team's official mascot, and even implemented a mechanical rabbit that pops out of the ground to give baseballs to umpires. In another promotion, Finley created Bald Day, which allowed any bald person into the stadium for free. This was done against the Red Sox in hopes to troll bald Red Sox manager Eddie Casco. These are all things Finley did to make money through attendance. The things he did to save money were even crazier. Finley didn't like paying people to work in the front office. In the 70s, there were so few people working in the front office, he had nobody to report to him. When he realized he needed more help, he decided to hire a kid he saw dancing outside of the stadium. This kid was eventually promoted to be the team's executive vice president. He was 11 years old and got paid $7.25 a game. This kid grew up to become MC Hammer. Yes, MC Hammer technically had the same job as Billy Beane when he was 11 years old. However, his most notorious move to save money occurred in 1976. Coming off 3 straight World Series championships, Finley traded 3 of his best players for literally 0 players in return. All he asked for was cash. The deal was accepted, but was considered so unfair it was completely vetoed by MLB. Fast forward 20 years to the MoneyBall era, and the A's used the exact same strategy, but in a more sophisticated way. Constantly trading your best players only works if you know more than the team you're trading with. In the early 2000s, the A's found that the entire league valued players who were good at defense, had high batting averages, and liked to draft high school pitchers since they had the most potential for growth. Billy Beane and the A's thought this was bull. They believed defense wasn't that important. Batting average was a useless stat, and judging players based on their on-base percentage was a lot more productive. And drafting high school pitchers was extremely risky and rarely worked. These principles were essentially what became known as the Moneyball strategy. And since they were basically the only team that believed this, players who fell under this criteria were extremely cheap. The A's took advantage of this, and starting in 2000, were consistently one of the best teams in baseball, despite having one of the lowest payrolls in the league. This was so unprecedented that in 2003, Michael Lewis wrote a book about it, called it Moneyball. It became a national bestseller, and this is when the strategy was ruined altogether. Moneyball only worked because the A's were the only team doing it. Once the entire league knew about it, they started implementing it themselves. The author even questioned this himself a week after it was published, saying, quote, "It's probably not good for the franchise long term." 2 economics professors studied the impact of the book and found that the athletics advantage they were getting from the strategy was pretty much gone within a year of the book's publication and completely erased by 2006. Even Billy Beane acknowledged the A's lost a significant advantage because of the book, saying, "When a team like the Boston Red Sox start operating like a small market team, teams like the A's are going to be fighting uphill." And that's exactly what happened. After years of success, they began struggling in 2007. They successfully rebuilt again, leading to another successful stint starting in 2012. But then they traded all their key players for prospects, causing another massive drop-off. But just like the A's projected, these prospects turned into great players, causing another string of success starting in 2018. This rebuild was massively successful, but without the advantages of being the only team who knew about Moneyball, they couldn't come close to the success they had in the early 2000s. Over the past 2 years, they've traded all of these players. If you go off the A's track record, there's a very good chance these trades will work out in the long run. But in the short term, these trades caused one of the worst seasons in recent history, complete chaos in the stadium, endless negative media attention, and fans who believe the A's cheapness has gotten so bad it might actually put them out of business. This backlash started in 2020 after it was reported their owner wasn't going to pay minor leaguers at all. The players were supposed to make $400 a week during the pandemic, which according to the A's was too much. After backlash, they apologized again and promised to pay the players. A former minor league player in the A's system says the team was so cheap They made him pay for his own team-issued bag, and even though he paid for it, the A's tried to make him return it after the season. In 2021, an anonymous player in their minor league system caused outrage after he posted what the A's were giving their minor leaguers for post-game meals. It looked so disgusting, the A's had to publicly apologize and fired the third-party vendor who supplied the food. In 2022, their highest-paid player, Chad Pinder, made half of the league's average salary. At one point, a single player, Max Scherzer, was making more money than the entire A's roster combined. And despite trading away all their best players, the A's reportedly nearly doubled their season ticket prices, leading their fans to revolt. In 2022, the A's AAA team sold more tickets than their Major League team 3 days in a row. There were so few people at the stadium that a couple was caught doing sexual acts in the middle of a game. This led to a police investigation, increased security the following day, and fans trolling the incident altogether. In 2023, the A's are projected to be one of the worst teams in the league, but this isn't even their biggest problem because in 2024, they might not even be a team. The Athletics have been trying to build a new stadium for decades and have basically been given a deadline. If they can't make a deal with the city to build a new stadium in Oakland by the end of 2023, they're required to move to a completely different city. Basically meaning two things can happen. They either rebuild their young, inexperienced team into superstars like they've done multiple times in the past, just in time to move into their shiny new stadium to start another golden era of Oakland A's baseball, or move to a new city and end the Oakland Athletics forever.